Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of Hashtag the Cool Breeze podcast, where I'm your host, Zafer, and we just talk about anything music related, our passions. We explore the depths of how much we love to do this. And for today's episode, I have a guest, Phil Byron from Emergent Shores. He's actually a part owner of the label, and he is an artist as well, music producer. So he's made many tracks under the alias Skua, and I will link all that below in the description later on, so you'll be able to catch that. And it's a real enjoyable chat, very insightful. He's such a nice guy, and I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys do too. This is Zafer, and here I am here today with Phil Byron. He is a man of, he wears many hats, honestly, man. You do all kinds of stuff in the progressive house scene, and melodic progressive house scene for sure. So it's awesome to get you on here and chat with you about music.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man.
And, I haven't done many of these before, so if I come across kind of super awkward, then, bear with me.
Nah, you're great, man. You're doing great. It's just, like I said, it's just real easy peasy, super chill. It's not some kind of strict thing. But to get started, man, could you just kind of introduce yourself to the podcast, to the audience, and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I guess in the scheme of progressive house and melodic progressive, I do two things really. One, I release under the alias Skua, and I also run the Emergent Music group of labels, along with Max Dillon, who is the owner of the group.
Okay.
And I kind of do the day-to-day running of Emergent Shores, Emergent Cities, and Emergent Textures. And then we've got a fourth label as well, which is Emergent Skies, and that's kind of uplifting trance, and that's run by Derek Palmer. So yeah, that's the kind of the two things that I really do in this kind of space.
Yeah. Wow, man, that's crazy. 4 different labels, and you're just operating them all, running them all, the day-to-days on all of them, man. That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I mainly do the 3 Shores, Cities, and Textures, but yeah, it kind of takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I bet, man. Okay, so you have all the stuff. Tell me how you started your journey into music, man. Like from not doing it, or maybe you were in it all your life, but what made you kind of take it to the next step where you wanted to start producing it and make, working with the label and just kind of taking it to the next level?
So, it's worth saying for a start, I don't play any kind of instruments or anything. I don't, I'm not like musically trained as such at all.
Same here, dude. Yeah.
But it was kind of like, I don't know, I guess like in my teens, I was really into music, but it was never kind of dance music. In the UK, it was kind of called like indie music. So, bands that you may or may not have heard of because they're quite old now, but things like the Stone Roses, Oasis, bands like that. It was really, I went to university in 1994, and at that point, kind of house music was becoming massive in the UK.
Yeah.
And the city that I went to university in was Birmingham, and it just so happened it had like a huge club scene that was kind of, it had been going a couple of years, but it was kind of when it was right at its peak.
Okay.
And a guy that I got really good friends with at uni, he wanted to buy some decks, so like some record decks, and So, but he couldn't, he didn't have all the funds. So basically, me and him went halves on buying them, and kind of through that, I suddenly then got this interest in dance music and house music, and then we were practicing for about a year, and he was one of these guys who, like, the kind of person who knows everyone.
Yeah.
And he got to know a load of people that were involved in kind of running the clubs, and so eventually we kind of got a break. We got like a gig at this big club called Crunch in Birmingham, and from there we just I mean it wasn't like prolific, but we got loads of opportunities to go and DJ places, and and so that was, from that point on, was kind of my love of like dance music and house music. And then basically where I got to, kind of where I am now, finished uni, went and got a job, kind of we all went our separate ways, and I wasn't really doing anything for ages. I kind of got into like hip hop and kind of turntablism and like scratching and all of that stuff for a while, and then one of my friends sent me a link on Facebook. So this is going to, fast forward to about I don't know, 2009, 2010, something like that. So it was like years of just not doing anything really. Sent me a link on Facebook to a tune called Doormatica by Keeley, which you may or may not have heard of. For me, it was like, wow, what is this? And that's kind of the first melodic progressive song I really heard. It's like, it's really kind of like piano heavy, and but then kind of when I think back, everything, all the music that I've always been attracted to has had like a really strong melodic theme to it. So this kind of genre of music is perfect for me, because it's all about the melodies, right? And so Paul Keeley is a guy who, you don't really see him release anything nowadays. I think he had an album out a couple of years back, but kind of back then, and it was a couple of years old when I heard it, but it was around about 2008. He was pumping stuff out on Anjuna Deep. And so, suddenly, like, find out about this music. Oh my God, this is amazing. And then you want to find out everything about that genre then. So, I was, there was like artists like Dinka and Mango. And Prof, and, and if you look at kind of Anjuna Deep back then, J-Tech, obviously, huge, artists back then, and it was such quality as well. And so that was kind of it then. And I'm one of these people that kind of, when I get interested in something, I then want to find out everything about it. And it's amazing, like, when I first got into music, there was no internet, which just kind of shows how old I am. There wasn't really the internet, or there was very beginnings of the internet. There's certainly no YouTube. There was no Spotify. There was nothing. So we'd go down to our record store every week, and we'd be buying all like the new vinyl and all of that. But the only way you found out about that music was by literally taking big stack of vinyl to like the turntable in the store and standing there for hours just listening to tune after tune. And now, click of a couple of buttons, you can you've got access to all the music ever made.
So nice.
So on one hand, I kind of think that was really good in a way back then, because you got a very kind of focused direction. But like now, if you want to find out about all the kind of subgenres of all different kinds of music, you just have to click on one artist, and then there's links to
YouTube's gonna take you away.
This, that, and exactly. So so you know, now it's like it's unlimited the amount of opportunity you've got to go and kind of find out about this stuff. But yeah, so that I'm kind of rambling on,
It's
but
all right, man.
that's really how I got into it, and that's how I found out about it. And I mean, those artists that I mentioned, and you know, there are loads more, but those artists that I mentioned then are really the ones that kind of really drew me into it. And you know, now even like the music that I do, and I can't pretend to even hope to be as good as I think they are.
Right,
But
right.
you know, in everything that I do now, I still hear their influences in what I'm
Oh
doing,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's kind of, you know, I think like your beginnings and stuff, that's what really kind of puts the foundations there of what you of the way, you know, you produce and whatever. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that was how I got into melodic progressive, and then from
Wow.
there it's just kind of, I guess, immersing yourself in it really.
Right, right. You just listen to it back to back, and then the artist, you find artist after artist, and you're like, okay, there's some people in here, and then you
Yeah,
get to the point where you just got to make it. Like I'm the same way. When I found out about melodic progressive house, I didn't I didn't want to listen to anything else in the world, and I wanted to just find out every single person in it, and just like I just wanted to know about more about it. And when I first discovered it, because yeah, growing up, we didn't have the internet for music. It was definitely just CDs and stores and stuff. So you weren't able to just find an artist so quickly nowadays, which
yeah,
is just so nice for us, to be able to make music in this world where one person can find us in like 10 minutes if they wanted to. It's
yeah.
just so good.
I guess the thing is though, there's this sea of music out there now, so kind of homing in and finding out about specific kind of artists or labels even,
Yeah.
there's that much out there that it's kind of blinding almost,
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I think so. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. There's so
Yeah.
much choice, but there's almost like too much choice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I know what you're saying. No, you're right. It's too much of just as much as it could be good, it still kind of like floods the world and oversaturates the place with, people that are just trying to make stuff, rather than, but I think the cool thing that happens is, of all this plethora of music disappears, but these little like, islands start to form in it, and
yeah,
this is it like, it probably like, for example, I just don't think melodic progressive house wouldn't be the same if it was, like really like a thing in the 90s, which, it could have been, but nobody knew about it, but
yeah.
now we have
Well,
internet and it's tracking it all and it's just growing and we can all be a part of it.
yeah, and I mean, genuinely, without the internet and without things like Facebook, I wouldn't be producing music now. I wouldn't be, part of running a label now.
Right.
So the internet has absolutely opened a massive amount of doors.
Yeah.
And yeah, the amount of people that you can now connect with, that you never used to be able to do back in the day. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember. I mean, a huge like DJ influence for me was Sasha.
Yeah.
If you've
I
ever
have.
heard of Sasha, and
Uh,
like John Digweed and people like that, and looking back, they were playing progressive house. It wasn't called progressive house at the time; it's just
right.
called house music. But and there was like the early starts of trance, or as far as I was aware, the kind of beginnings. I'm sure it was going on for ages before I
Yeah.
became aware of it. But with like Paul Oakenfold back in the day, and obviously he's remained huge now.
Hmm.
And the thing is, all of those people, and they are still to a degree kind of
Yeah.
untouchable. You can't, but you kind of can. You can reach out to them. You can tweet them now,
Right.
and there's no guarantee they're going to reply to you. But suddenly, the world's kind of opened up, and you can actually,
Yeah.
your heroes out there, you can actually reach out to, and if you might catch them on a good day or whatever, and they might reply back to you, and then suddenly, you're connecting with them, and that again is a massive thing now that you could never do maybe even 10 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point, man. Like the fact that we as musicians, is we can reach out and virtually touch anybody who decides to come onto our doorstep. And
Yeah,
I think that is just such a benefit from back when you release music, you were just trying to get it past the door,
yeah,
but much less talk to somebody that you was just trying to get it in there, and just the fact that these communities develop online and people like me when I first started into the how realm of melodic progressive house, man, I was definitely trying to reach out and figure out how can I reach out to these producers and people that do melodic progressive house and just I want to know about them, like what made you tick for it, or like what inspired you to do it, and
yeah,
it's so good, and I can do the same for others. So fans or people that enjoy my music, they come to my YouTube channel, and they'll comment and say things, and it's just so nice to like, hey, thank you for coming by, or just because it's like I get a chance to say something nice to that person, like
yeah,
without me just being super weird and like, hey, I just want to say you're all, I just like you say something to me and I get the reply back, thank you, wish you a wonderful day, or some kind of
yeah,
word of affirmation where it's like, hey, hopefully I sent them something good to go along their way, but it just goes with the music. Like that, me replying is because of that track I made that the artist wanted to reach out, and it's just like, oh, it's cool because
yeah,
it's like these little like flowers are just popping up all over the place, and you just get to go to each one of them in your
yeah. No,
world and tend to them.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I don't get like tons and tons of messages, but every so often you get like something come through in your inbox, and it's just be someone just saying, "I really enjoyed that track that you did," or whatever. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's nice to know that something that you've spent hours doing, because you would do anyway, right? Because
right.
you like making the music, and now you know how to do it. I'm probably always going to make music. I may not always be successful kind of releasing it, but
Right. Same.
someone just taking the time to drop you a message and saying,
Yeah.
really like that
Yeah.
tune or whatever.
Oh,
It's amazing.
yeah, it goes both
And
ways. Yeah, it's so nice that you can, they can, like, like you said, the messages you get on a, offline basis, like in your inbox, personal, that
mm,
people just tell you they've told me some like deep stuff, just like, hey, your song has got me through this part of my life that I thought was like hopeless, like
yeah,
I didn't even know my song was going to even be heard by anybody, much less or much more, I'm sorry, be affecting somebody's life to help them realize like, hey, I can still contribute something to this world. I can still get up and get out of bed, and I can give, I can give my light to the world in my way because, this song has helped me come to terms with that in my own kind of, way. And we just we have that power to do that. We have the power to just make people smile on so many levels. It's just a blessing, man, a big
yeah.
blessing.
It still amazes me that anyone even buys my music. 'Cause, I mean, like I said, I would make the music anyway because I enjoy
Hmm.
doing it. It's and you'll know as well, once you kind of get over that first kind of learning curve,
Yeah.
it's then just inside of you, and you know I see sometimes like guys in music will kind of say, right, I'm giving up producing or whatever,
Yeah.
and I just kind of think, why, maybe give up kind of putting your music out there for a bit if for whatever reason, but
Hmm.
you're always going to be making that music because now you know how to do it.
Right.
I don't know, but whenever in my day-to-day life, or if I'm doing my day job or whatever, I've always got music kind of going around in my head, and there'll be like a little melody that then I'll try and remember for later on, so I can kind of get in front of the computer and kind of put it in, and it'll never come out the way
Of
I remembered it.
course.
But
Oh yeah,
you
man.
know, so I think if you got that at your fingertips, you're always going to be making some kind of music. And I can't think where I'm actually going with this
I
line
mean,
up, but
you
it's
can't imagine life without that gift, you know, like you've learned that gift and you've made that happen, and then you're always gonna have that gift of being able to translate a little idea from nothing onto your keyboard,
yeah,
onto your computer, and then you make it an actual song. So now, you know, what was just a little idea that you ran home to make and you kind of forgot it, but you still kind of got a little piece of it. But that idea just turns into you know, a real melody, and then you're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
I just feel it, you know, like you just that little sensation in your body that just like your whole body turns on and tingles because you're just in love with what's starting to blossom and create from absolutely like you running into it's very serendipitous, you know, you run into something at the store and it just puts you in the mood and you come back home and on the way home the melody popped in your head and it was, you know,
yeah, yeah,
it's just like that gift is going to be with you forever. And even if you want to, even if you feel like, oh, my skills aren't up to par or I'm not good enough to be putting it out there, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You know, you have the ability to blossom an idea and create that from scratch, and you have the patience and time to stick with that idea and push it out there. It's just, you know, it's the same for us all, you know, like we all have that same kind of like the self-doubt about our music. We all have that, like, it's not perfect enough. We all have that kind of, it's too repetitive, or, you know, the it's
yeah,
boring, or, you know what I'm saying, it's all kinds of that kind of stuff going on. And it's like, really, you need to put out what you like, how you feel it should be, even if it's the same thing 3 times in a row, because it's your story, it's your POV, you know, like your point of
yeah,
view.
yeah,
Nobody else is going to have that point of view. I cannot interpret the way, for example, that me and you we did a remix together, the Amar remix. You know, it was
yeah.
myself, you, and Talamanca. Like, oh my God, what kind of lineup is going on here? But it's just the fact that we had 3 different versions of an original track that was already made, that we all took our own different kind of approach to and made.
Mm.
And I promise you, like, I'm sure you had your reservations about your remix that you made, because I was like, I'm not even done with this really, but I'm just like, I think this is enough, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so I remember that because as soon as I saw that Talamanca was on there, I was like, well, me, you know, and I didn't know you at the time,
Mhm.
really. I have to say, so I was just like, well, me and this other guy don't stand a chance, do we?
Yeah,
But
that's exactly
but
what I thought.
you know, I mean, again, like talking about kind of heroes of melodic progressive and all of that, you know,
Hmm.
Talamanca, Roald Veldon, you know, I mean, those 2 guys are kind of more modern day kind of heroes of our scene, and
Amen.
you know, absolutely, it's you know, they make incredible music, and so yeah, I was just like, well, I'm
Oh,
just going to do my best, you know, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I mean, to be perfectly honest, kind of you know, every bit of music I do, I'll listen back and I think, well, that's not good enough. You
Right,
know what?
right,
And I think it's quite natural to have a lot of self doubt, and you know, especially if you're not a trained musician as
right.
well. Because I mean, I think I've always had kind of like quite a good ear for music,
Hmm.
but I've always been like frustrated. You know,
Yeah,
my son's got a guitar,
yeah,
and he's learning to play it now, and I'll pick it up, and
yeah,
I can't do anything with it, you
yeah.
know. And I'm like, should be able to, you know, I can make music. I should. Why can't I
Right.
play? And you know, and it's so but then I guess maybe kind of what we do using VSTs
Mhm.
and like MIDI and all of that is actually playing an instrument in a way, but
Yeah, it
you
is.
know, it's just a different kind of instrument.
Yes, yes, for
Um,
sure.
But I mean, when we were talking just before about kind of putting the music out there and whatever, it amazes me now that we like sit on a computer and we make a product that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, and we put it out there and people can listen to it, but it's not a physical product, and it gets sold, and it I mean it there was a video that a lady called Kim Gaston, I think she's called. She's someone who
she's a fan of the meloprog. I know her. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's really into melodic progressive, and she put this video on of when Alex H went out to DJ for her a little while back.
Oh yeah.
And they were in the car, and in the background was one of my tunes off my album playing, and
oh wow,
my friend Alberto dropped me this message going, that's your track in the background. And I was like, what? And I mean, again, Alex is anyone involved in progressive house. Alex makes incredible music, and so like to think that he's there on the other side of the world for him, with someone else who I see on Facebook quite a lot listening in the car, and it was just on the background. They weren't like commentating on the music or anything, but my music on in the background is kind of just like mad. Whereas and that's all something that I've just kind of done on my computer, and actually that particular track, kind of remember thinking, of all the ones that I've done for my album, that's maybe I don't know, one of the weaker ones, but it's kind of mad really to think that all happens, and again, like the internet is fully responsible for getting that out there and kind of facilitating it all.
Yeah, I mean, man, I couldn't have gone nowhere near as far as I've gotten without the use of the internet, and just kind of learning how to operate and use the internet as a way to spread my music out there to people. Like this podcast, for example, is me learning like, hey, this is another way I can communicate with people about what I love, and I love melodic progressive house. I like talking to people about it. I mean, the funny thing is, I remember I used to tell my dad, or make an excuse like, man, I would love to talk music, but there's really nobody around me to talk about it because, everybody has their own, it's different. I can't expect you to be like knowing about all the stuff that in my world, as far as, you gotta have your own love for it. I'm not gonna like, just try to suck you in, but this podcast is like, oh, this gives me a chance to reach out to you, and reach out to Alex H, and reach out to a.k.a. and Luby, and just all these other artists, and that I'm just like, hey, I would love to chat with them about music, and just I don't know what the hell I'm doing a lot of times, but just the fact that for the sake of promoting my music, but promoting melodic progressive house as a genre in general, just it doesn't even have to be my music you like. I'm not asking for anybody to just like it for me, but it's like just delve into you have releases on your labels, for sure, especially on melodic, that are just like, they're gems, they're just gems. They're so unique, they're beautiful, and they take you away on such a level that just I can't even describe it. Like, it's so hard for me to describe these kind of things. It's just, but the emotions are there,
Well, it's amazing now when I kind of see like the back end of the kind of record label side, where you see kind of all the demos come in and all of that, and we obviously have kind of our core artists who kind of send us stuff in, and you see you've got something in there, and I'm not going to kind of name anyone particular, but you kind of see something come in and you can't wait to click on that because it's going to be incredible. But equally you get some stuff through the demo box, and from guys who seemingly have this is like the first the first time they've tried to release something,
Mm-hmm.
and again, occasionally you click on something, it just blows you away.
Yeah.
So, it's and even some of the stuff that you get through that you might kind of actually decide not to release,
Yeah.
it all has value still, and there'll be elements of that someone who's kind of really into that music and has found out all about melodic progressive and probably loves it and has started trying to make it themselves. You can hear that in the music, and it might not be suitable yet for actually releasing, but you can kind of you so often hear those kind of themes come through it still, and the emotion in it, and all of the things that like we love about this kind of music.
Yeah. I mean, the things that we strive to try to bring out in our own music when we make melodic progressive, it's a very, for me, it's just, for me, I'm like, I love I'm a simple kind of person, and down to the core, like I'm a very big fan of like simplicity. So I'm not a trained musician by any means either. Everything I know how to play, I've basically taught myself from YouTube to just playing with it, because like the ukulele, I didn't know how to play guitar either, and I still don't that well, but I was like, I'm going to get a ukulele because it's smaller, and I can like take it around with me, and I can always just fiddle with it, it's fiddle, you don't have to have it perfectly set, and it's not like a keyboard where you have to sit down and play, this is just super cheap on the go type of thing, and I just, because I'm so musically curious, period, it doesn't matter. Like I'm always gonna figure out a tune on there. Like if you give me a trombone, within an hour, I'm gonna probably figure out how to make a tune. Once I figure out how to make a sound on it, I'm gonna probably start trying to make a tune on it. It's just in my DNA, honestly, man. It's just like I don't even care about. I would love to learn professionally for sure. Like get to the point where I'm like, hey, I can actually take proper lessons from somebody, because it's a dream of mine to be able to like play concert level piano, just to have that, to do it, I don't know, because I like it. I love the piano. I've been playing around with it since I was like 12, so just to be able to get even that more in depth with it, than I'm already have gotten, and I've gotten pretty in depth with it. I think I have a pretty intimate relationship with my piano. I'm always messing with it and trying to figure out tunes in it, and whatever, and it's like there's things I learn about it to this day that I've been playing it for years, and I'm like, oh, that's why that like it's just like it's a journey that I'm continuously evolving, I'm continuously growing, continuously being more and more educated on so many different levels, from the marketing side to learning the music, to just melodic progressive house in general. Just being involved with it completely is just I don't know. It's just it changed. It's like life. It was life changing for me, for sure, to like take this curiosity, this musical curiosity that I always had about music, and to actually start to apply it in a more focused direction. Kind of actually started putting it on a computer and putting it on the DAW to put it out there. Just being able to do that. So if you retain that musical curiosity, I think when you approach it to the DAW, when you approach it to your workstation, if you always just keep that like the way you've always looked at it, like you don't have to be a trained musician to be able to make something happen from an instrument, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's more like you just have to be able to sit with it long enough and be patient with it and learn it, learn the structure of it, and then you'll be surprised with what could happen. And when you're making music, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say, I think that's my problem, is I'm too impatient. Mm-hmm. So, actually learning to play an instrument, kind of the time and dedication that takes. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just don't think I've got the the patience now to do that. And I kind of find, when I'm making my tunes on the computer again, I'll find myself rushing to try and kind of get it finished and wrapped up, because I just don't. I don't know. I just don't kind of have the patience anymore, I guess, to kind of.
You just want it done. Yeah.
You hear some people talking about the way they make their stuff, and they will like spend hours and weeks, and then they'll let it sit, and then they'll go back to it and tweak the mix on it and all of that. And in me, there's always like, all right, I've got to get this finished now and then get it sent, and and I guess get the validation a little bit of somebody saying, oh yeah, that sounds good, or or no, maybe go and try this and that or whatever. But yeah, I think I always find myself.
But
so
it'll.
Sorry, go on.
No, it's okay, man. I think when you keep making it the way you keep doing it, because I have the same anxiety of it as well. Like sometimes, especially when I get to like the midway portion of it, of a track, I'm like, I just want to be done with it. Nothing against the track, but I'm just impatient. You want to see the finished product.
Yeah. You want the finished product, yeah.
And you want it to be out there. But the more I do it, like, because I go at it every day for a little bit, the more I do it, it's just like, you know what? This song could take 10 years to make. I'm just going to be done with it when I'm done with it, and I'm just going to make sure every element of it is absolutely perfect to me, like at that time I'm feeling at that day, because tomorrow I'm going to come back and listen to it, and I'm like, oh, Donovan, you were trash at this. You need to go back to the drawing board and start over. Which is why like live streaming helps, because with live streaming it kind of like cements the track into like completion. Where you're like, all right, people are listening, or people might have said something about it. Lately I posted some videos of like my track of a work in progress that I'm doing, and I listened to it, and I've gone over, this. I'm going to keep it. Now I'm going to throw it away and start a new one. I'm going to keep it. Nah, it's trash, I'm going to keep it. I don't know, And, but I've been getting, you get that one person that does likes it, and I got more than one person, but it's just people comment and they're like, hey, man, I hope it's finished, and or love to see the finished product, and it just kind of gives you that. All right, well, if they're with it.
So I was listening to your chat that you had with Kevin from
episode 2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, episode 2, and on there, you were kind of talking about like how you can kind of I made like get a track kind of finished in 8 hours.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking, well, if I ever get 8 hours to actually work straight on a track, kind of possibly actually, I could see myself doing that. I just never have that kind of block of time. Ever really to kind of do it for kind of 8 hours straight, but if the track that you're talking about was the video that played directly after that, then I was listening to it in the car, just kind of like streaming it through YouTube.
Okay.
Then I was like, wow, no, this is really good. So it was like super kind of melodic and like dreamy sounding. So yeah, you should definitely finish it.
I think that was it. Yeah. Well, it's usually it's 8 hours, but it's not like 8 from start to finish. Like I sit down from 10 o'clock and I'm done at 6 o'clock and the track's done. It's like 8 hours over the course of a week, because now I have to time my work through project hours per track, because I work on like maybe 3 or 4 a day or something if I'm just in a good mood, and every track has a set project hours, and I try to always, my goal when I started making melodic progressive, to keep me going, so I wouldn't like stop so much and stop. I'd be like, all right, no more than 8 hours can be spent on this track, because it's going to force me to come to a stop within 8 hours of project time. And so I'd always like go to the project info, and I'm like, okay, I'm at 4 hours. I can get 4 more hours of dedicated project time to this, and I've reached my goal. And because sometimes, man, I'm not even gonna lie. Like I've had probably like 2 songs throughout my melodic progressive house career where it was like a 4 hour session from start to finish, and I cranked the song out. Like I didn't move or nothing. Maybe two. Out of probably the
Yeah,
100 I've made or something. I don't know. How what the number is now, but most of the time it's like every day. It's over the course of a day of a week. But when you hear a song, typically, like all of the songs you hear, typically, I have been disciplining myself, I guess. Not that I'm good, but it's usually like that whole week has been dedicated to that song or whatever. So like
yeah,
like the way the song has been was for me just going back and coming back to it, and it's really cool to look at the project time afterwards and be like, hey, 8 hours? Ooh, I got a 6 hour one. Like I was really fast. And you go back and you listen and you're like, oh wow, it's done. It's really completed. I'm not that, and I'm very anal and kind of picky about my stuff, way more than
yeah,
anybody else. Like if you like my music, it's like I like my music, but there is always a level of like disdain, because it's like you could have done that better, Zafer. You
oh,
lazy,
yeah,
you know.
there's always a level of disappointment, and yeah. Well, and I think I don't know, whenever I kind of go back and listen to earlier stuff that I made, I cringe. Well, I cringe definitely at the very early stuff
Yeah.
that I made, and but some of that has been released and is like available to buy on Beatport and whatever,
It's
and
out there, man.
yeah, and again, that's the other thing with like the age that we live in now.
Hmm.
There's a permanent record of everything. This conversation that we're having now, once you upload that to YouTube, there's a permanent record of that, which is again why I need to make sure I don't say anything mad on here. But it's
Uh,
so it's like when I go back and listen now to
mhm.
tracks that I was just desperate to get signed. I think you start like making music, and you get to a point where you kind of think in your head, this sounds as good as that thing that I'm listening to, that was made by
Yeah.
whichever
Yeah.
artist that's sort of in your
Yeah.
head, and and then so it's weird, like, and I don't know what your experience with this was, but when you kind of get to the point where you think this is good enough to send off to some
Hmm.
labels, and you then send it off, and a lot of the time you don't hear anything
Hmm.
back, and sometimes you do hear something
Hmm.
back, but it might be it's not really for us this time or
Right.
whatever, but you kind of latch onto
Yeah.
that and you're like, well, they replied, so I'm going to reply back to them, and
Yeah.
um, and then occasionally you'll get back from them like some feedback of maybe work on the bass line, or your sub wasn't loud enough,
Hmm.
or whatever it was, and but you kind of latch onto
Yeah.
that, and so eventually you get to the point where you've worn them down enough to actually put your music out for you, um,
That's the
and
plan, right?
I mean, because that's my experience, right?
Hmm.
That's basically what I
Hmm.
did, pester people,
If you do it
um,
nicely.
and
Nicely.
sorry, nice. Well, yeah,
It helps if you're
that's the
nice.
thing. Yeah, if there is one tip, I guess, for aspiring producers, it don't be a dick, right? You know, uh,
Yep.
at the end of the day, all of these people, and most of the guys who run the labels in our kind of little
Hmm.
scene, we're not talking about like Warner Music and Universal and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You're talking about guys who are basically running labels. A lot of the time, they've got a day job as
Right.
well, and they're running labels because they've got a passion about the
Yeah.
music, and you know, they that's their real love. And if they could do it 24/7, they
Right.
would, but they can't. So in the limited hours of time that they've got, um, if they're kind of getting hassled by people rather than kind of
Right.
polite reaching out, then yeah, that often makes the difference between whether somebody gets a reply or not, I think. And certainly, I hope when I was trying to get my music released in the first place, I hope I wasn't a dick.
Nah.
But equally, I mean, there was guys. So Max, that I work with now on the label,
Right.
was one of the few guys who replied back to me, and was like kind of very genuine about wanting to have a chat with me and talk to me. And even though Max rejected a lot of my music at first, but I would always send it to him because he replied to me, and and then eventually I think got to the point where actually he kind of said, yeah, this is good enough. There's another guy, I don't know if you've heard of Vito Dito.
Yeah. I have.
Yeah, so he runs Encanter music, but at the time he didn't. He was involved with another label that I can't remember the name of, but he was kind of doing all the A&R for that. And again, it was one of that. He made a track called La Isla, and my pronunciation's awful, but
It's all right.
that was like at the time one of the best tracks I'd ever heard. So I was like, right, I've got to reach out to this guy and say that this music was incredible.
Yeah.
So send him a message, and he replied back, and then again you kind of get into conversation. He was like, oh, I've kind of been trying to make some music, would you listen to it? And he was always very kind and patient about replying as well. So kind of these couple of guys, and now I guess I'm in a position where I kind of get sent messages from people and stuff, and you want to kind of reply back to everybody, and you want to kind of be able to bring them on the way that people brought me on.
Right.
But there's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's kind of, but going back to my original point, what I would say is the people that would get a reply are the people that don't come across as too pushy, and I guess just people. If you come across as nice, you're likely to get a nice reply back, and that's not just from me. That's from kind of people generally, I think. And I have to say, there aren't too many people in our scene that I've come across that I kind of think, I wouldn't genuinely want to meet in real life and kind of hang out with and all of that. And maybe that's just because kind of the music that we do is all, has that kind of vibe to it, I think. It's not aggressive music, but I think people generally that are into the kind of music that we're into, generally speaking, tend to be pretty cool. And
yeah, dude.
So, there's not many people that I've met that and most of these people I've never met in real life, just through kind of like, chatting with on Facebook or whatever. But there's not many people that I think I've come across that I wouldn't kind of want to hang out with and kind of genuinely meet and, connect with properly. But so that's one of the nice things about what we do.
Yeah, about melodic progressive is you're right, man. Like I was telling somebody else, I don't think I've had too many sour relationships with anybody in my journey as when I started out. When I first got into music, when I first got into melodic progressive, and only thing, like, I never really got to the point where I was trying to like really religiously send my music out to labels yet. Like I just didn't think I was good enough yet, so I was just like, I'm just gonna keep working, and I'm not gonna worry about trying to impress a label with my music just yet, because I know I recognize myself that there was a distance. But when I finally got noticed just from doing my thing, and just the serendipity of it all happening, it's just been a nice person after a nice person, and all the relationships and the people that have reached out to me afterwards on any kind of level where it's like, hey, you want to do a remix, or hey, do you have any tracks, or hey, you want to do a track. It's always been just great conversations, even if I couldn't help them or I just wasn't able to deliver which I have had a couple of times where I haven't been able to deliver. Like I was supposed to do a remix and I never
Mm.
ever like, or I did it and like one guy didn't like it and he wanted me to do more to it and I was so sick of that like remix and that song. I just couldn't like
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
I just was like I felt miserable. Like I was literally like starting to stress myself out about it. And I was like, this just can't. I can't do it. Just and I didn't. But the thing that I messed up on was I didn't say anything to him. I was just so embarrassed of it. I didn't say anything, and we just time just kind of passed. So you know. But if I ever do reach out and talk to him, because it's so in the past now, it's not even a big a deal. I'll just be like, oh yeah, my bad, dude. It's I
Yeah.
sucked. I was stupid. But it's just the fact that even with all that, the fact that I wasn't, I'm not like 100% some just perfectly on time dude all the time and always like delivering the music of the best of time. But I do try my best, that and
Yeah.
everybody else I can tell they're doing pretty much doing the same. Like I don't think anybody just blows off anybody in the scene for no reason. Like number one, a lot of people are busy and forget. Because I'm that person. You'll text
Yeah.
me, and I swear to goodness, man, I would be trying. I love the chat and stuff, and then I get swept off into four other people that message me, and then Instagram to YouTube. It's just like how it goes. But
Yeah. Yeah.
the relationships have
I'm,
been
I,
great.
yeah. I'm the world's worst for that kind of thing as well. If and especially now with kind of where it's not just my
Hmm.
music that
Oh, that helps.
that
Yeah.
I've got to focus on. It's also like the label stuff. Um, I just find if I don't have it noted down, then it'll kind of go in one ear and out of the other.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think no. There's definitely been stuff and remixes is always the kind of funny one because it's not your
Yeah.
music, right? So and sometimes you might like the actual
Hmm.
tune, but it just when you try and do your thing with it, it just doesn't
Yeah.
work. Um,
Yeah.
and again, I mean, I think the thing there is from a label
Hmm.
perspective, I'd rather just know early,
You're
so
right.
if if you give someone a remix, and normally you get I don't know a couple of months maybe to work on
Yeah.
it, uh, but I think generally as a musician, well, not
Hmm.
as a
Yeah.
producer, you kind of probably in the first week whether it's really going to do it for you or not.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
you know, um, so I would just say, kind of just be honest and just say, look, it's not going to work. And I think the label won't judge you for that. They'll probably actually respect you more for saying, okay, this one's just not working out for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think the worst thing from a label perspective is because you kind of you've got like a release
Schedule.
schedule
Hmm.
there, and that might be 6 months
Yeah.
long. You
Yeah.
might have tracks lined up for the next six
Yeah.
months, and kind of in 6 weeks' time, that you need that remix back from this
Yeah.
guy because then that means that release is going to be ready to go, and then kind of the week before you find out he's not going to do it. So and it happens,
Hmm.
right? And quite often labels will ask a number of people to remix a
Yeah.
track, and if they all turn out, then great, you've got a release with 4
Yeah.
remixes or whatever. Um, but sometimes it doesn't work out. But then at least that way you can still kind of manage to get the track out. But yeah, I think yeah, just kind of be upfront and just say it's not gonna work out
Yeah.
this
Be
time.
honest, and I think that was my lesson I took from it was like, hey, I just got to be way more honest and upfront with people, and I am now, especially now that I'm doing this, for real. Because this was like last year sometime, but you know, this
Yeah,
year I'm like, um, If I can't do it, I'm just gonna be. If I want to do it, I'll tell you I want to do it, but I can't make you any promises right now because of X, Y, Z, and
Hmm.
it's just been good. Like, it's been a lot easier for me to accept more because I have to be. When I first was doing it, I was kind of just saying yes to everything
Yeah.
because I was just wanting to do something, that had to do with meloprog, and I'm like, if you want somebody to remix
Yeah.
it, I'll be your guy. And
And also, it's flattering to be asked to do it as well, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
If
it's
someone comes to
nice.
you and says, "We want you to remix this track," then you kind of think, well, you don't want to say no.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but but yeah,
Sometimes it's just like, you know, um, the songs that the remix I just can't, so I just would let you know right off the bat that I couldn't do it. But what I really like to do is it's just bootleg remix artists' tracks for them and just kind of like release it for free because I just feel like it
yeah,
goes viral so quick, like I just like doing it that way because it's very like free, so I'm not like you gotta have this signed to your label. I've made this specifically for you or something. It's just like, bro,
yeah,
I love your music. Here's a remix that I made. Boom. I would like to get more into doing stuff like that, just to be more like, raw and kind of bumping elbows with the new tracks that are coming out. It's just man. Even though I'm doing this, the music making portion of it is just it's so limited because when I get down to sit down to it at the studio, I just want to make stuff. Like it's very
yeah,
rare that I'm
yeah,
like I want to remix a track. Like I don't not anymore. Like now, I just want to. I'm way much more interested in what I can make just as a personal challenge. Like all
yeah,
right, you kind of see how it's all done and how to make remixes and how you remix tracks and how they like them and how you can do your own kind of thing to it. But personally, man, whenever I get a remix, it's just I just do what I want to it. To be honest, like
yeah,
I keep my chord progression. I will keep the chord progression pretty similar. I will probably use like a melody, maybe, and I will
mm,
make sure that I will like see how their bass is going, and that's like it. After that, I'm like, I don't even want anything else from the track, man. I'm just gonna make a whole track from this, and I'm gonna call it the remix. I don't know if that's right, but it's just,
I don't think there's any real kind of hard and fast rules to it. I
yeah,
think I think you kind of got to honor the original track,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you're making a remix of it, then it's kind of you've got to kind of keep the progression in there. And there might be like melodies and whatever that you would use,
hmm,
but I think generally for me, when I get a remix pack, I probably won't use if I ever get any kind of audio in
yeah,
there. There'll be almost very rare that I would use the audio,
yeah,
but the way I kind of generally nowadays would do a remix is, I keep all my all the projects that
hmm,
I've done, and I'd probably open my last one or the prior one to that
yeah,
or whatever, and kind of delete out all the melodic elements, drop in the new midis, and then then you've got a basis straight off to hear. This is how it would
yeah,
sound with kind of the way I put tracks together, and then you can kind of tweak it and play with it from there, and take out something, put something else in.
oh, that's interesting.
I quite like to I quite like to put new melodies and whatever into remixes that I do as well, but I don't. I try not to make it kind of go too far
Hmm,
from the original as well. So maybe to kind of like complement it rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
completely make a new track.
See, man, I try to do that, but I typically that's why I kind of have to be careful accepting remixes because I do think it's the right thing to do. Like personally, I'm like,
Yeah,
it's the respectful thing to do to like make sure that the track is still kind of recognizable, and I do believe it should be recognizable, but I think that's it. You know, like I think you should just be able to kind of know that it's the track, and then after that, it's mine. It's
Yeah,
mine.
yeah,
So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna jack it up and do whatever. But you know, even though I'm gonna do what I want to it, um, I'm not going to. I'm not gonna like destroy it to the point of like it's not yours. But it's just like sometimes it's kind of up there where it's like, bruh, he just used like the guitar. He just used the guitars from this, you know. Like this is like a new track, but
but yeah. I think that's okay
yeah,
though. I mean,
it's a remix,
at the end of
man.
the
What can I
day,
say? The remix was I got inspired by your MIDIs and your
yeah, yeah.
sounds to make this. So yes, you're responsible for this remix.
At the end of the day,
Yeah,
that label wouldn't have asked you to do that
yeah,
remix if they didn't like what your music sounded
yeah.
like. So, they've said, right, we want this guy to remix the track because we like the way his music
Hmm.
sounds. And I don't know about you, but and I don't know whether I've got kind of like a particular sound to my music.
Hmm.
Maybe I do. I
I'm sure
don't
you
know,
do.
but I think a lot of my tracks probably do have kind
A
of
style.
similar.
Hmm.
Probably the main theme is badly mixed, but it's kind of I guess most artists in one way or another
Yeah,
have a kind of a style and a sound,
yeah,
and so if a label's asking you to remix a track, it's because they want you to do it in your style and they want it to sound like one of your tracks, but your version of it. So,
absolutely. You're right.
at the end, and at the end of the day,
It's all love. It's all good.
most labels,
You're right.
yeah, and most labels are pretty kind of, you know, there is quality control. So if they don't think it fits, then they will probably tell
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and so
So
yeah.
yeah, be brave, and I think being don't if you do remix a track, if anybody does take the time to remix a track, just take this. Don't be afraid. Like keep the original elements, you know, like we were just talking about, but don't be afraid to kind of experiment out a little bit further, especially if you can. I actually like what you were talking about, as how you kind of have your own kind of track going, and you take the MIDI information. So all the information that makes up the pianos and guitars and stuff, you take all that and you put
Hmm.
it into your own like setup basically. And yeah, it's like if I kind of use these MIDIs this way, this is kind of how it would sound. But now it gives you such a foundation to kind of work from, you know. So
Yeah.
that's a great tip, man. So you've dropped a lot of like gold tips, man. I actually appreciate this.
Really.
Yeah, just
Um.
how to submit a track to a label. I think that's good information, and especially as somebody who operates more than just one. So you operate a couple of, you know, plus that, you know, three or four. It's the fact that you know you have to deal with people emailing you, and you have to have a conversation with, you know, a lot of people
Hmm.
telling them no. You know, like that's your favorite thing to do, right? Tell somebody no, I can't work. You know, but you know, just the
Yeah.
things that other aspiring producers, especially any producers in like the meloprog scene or anything like that, just the fact that, yeah, it just takes just a bit of humanity. You don't, you know, your track doesn't have to be the next Slay out. Just be human, be honest, and it's okay if you don't get a response, and it's okay if they tell you no.
Hmm.
Like it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean your music sucks or it's trash. It just means your song either A doesn't quite fit the vision of what the label has in store for it, or B, it's good and it could, but there's just a lot of missing elements or a lot of things that you need to work on. It needs to be kind of smoothed and rounded out a little
Yeah.
bit. So that's such valuable insight, Phil. Thank you so much.
And that's kind of like the most difficult, I guess, from running a label
Hmm.
side of things. That's for me has been the most difficult thing, really, because um, I guess it's in my nature to say yes to
Yeah,
stuff, which
yeah.
is, um, you know, so the most difficult thing for me, I think, in kind of having become involved in running the label is kind of saying no to people,
Hmm.
because like I say, I've been kind of that side of the fence where you're sending your music in,
Hmm.
and you think you feel it's kind of suitable and maybe the right quality or the right sound or whatever, and it's probably you're sending it to a label that you well, maybe if not love, respect or whatever, but you know, a label that you would like to see your stuff go out on. And you know, so, and the other thing I kind of didn't appreciate was just how many demos you get through. I mean, you know, Emergent is, you know, we're, I guess in our sphere, we're a reasonably kind of not huge, but a fairly decent size kind of label, you know. But you know, even for someone like us, you know, it is literally hundreds of demos through. You know, I can open the inbox up and just kind of going through every single one, and you want to reply. I mean, it's something that I was always kind of said. I will be the guy to reply to everyone. You know, but you kind of can't. You know, because you'd love to kind of reply to every single person and say, you know, thanks for your track, but you know, this time you know, you need to look at this, that, and the other. But you know, if you did that for every single demo that you get through, you would not ever have enough time to even kind of release any tracks from anyone else, because it can be kind of saturating. So you know, I do try and make sure that demos generally, as much as I can, get a response, even if it's a no, and you know, just try and be polite about that. But you know, sometimes I'll see like there was a track that was sent in kind of, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, a month ago, and you know, you kind of think, well, it's kind of gone too far now, you know. But that, you know, I haven't spoken to many of the other guys, but I imagine they kind of find the same thing on other labels like Synth and on Saluna, you know. And that's the hardest part, is saying no, basically, because you know that these guys have spent ages putting that music together, and you know, they're thinking this time maybe. And I remember it was me, you know, constantly, you know, every hour or so checking your inbox to see, oh, you know, I had to reply yet, you know. So that's tough, and it kind of that does make me feel bad.
It's life, man. You can't do it all by yourself, you know. You just get through as much as you can, and the fact that you're just saying this and that you know, is enough. Like, yeah, you're human. You would love to just tell everybody like what is wrong with them, what they could do to fix it, you know, everything, but you just absolutely can't. You know, it's just it's business for one, and it's music for two. Music is fast. Music is you get if you get the attention of that guy for 30 seconds, you know, that's about all you got, you know, and it's up to him to, if it didn't catch you, you know, you have to just keep going, because, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. So, all right, Phil, I'm about to wrap this up, man, because we have been going on for a minute, but I've been having a blast. I would love to go even longer. And in fact, we're just gonna just come back on and do this again.
Definitely.
But before I let you go, brother, can you just go ahead and shout out anything that's up and coming for yourself or your labels, anything you'd like to promote, and also finally drop us all a way to follow you and listen to your music and follow your journey.
Okay, so there's well, obviously we have new releases kind of every week on on Emergent, on kind of each of the 4 labels. There's generally a new track out every week. So I think actually on Skies that it's every other week, but so there's always new content coming out. So absolutely, you know, people should try and kind of get onto our Facebook, which is, I need to remind myself of the actual, well, it's basically, so we have kind of like 4 different Facebook sites as well, or 5 actually. So Emergent Music is kind of the central Facebook site, that we then promote all our other labels through as well.
Okay.
So that's probably the best place to start. But I mean, if you just type into search Emergent Music, Emergent Shores, Emergent Cities, Skies, Textures, particularly for melodic progressive Emergent Shores. Myself, like my music, I'm on Facebook as well as I think if you type in Skua music, I think it is Skua, like the bird. Type that in, and I think I'm probably like the top link in there because no one else was daft enough to pick that name.
I like that. That's a good name, brother, by the way.
But I mean, stuff to promote aside from kind of all the releases are we've got there's the Amsterdam dance music event, which is in October. It's called ADE, and for the first time we're going to be over there, and we've linked up with Synth Collective and Saluna to kind of put on a night basically. So we've got an event going. It's not an official ADE event, and it really kind of came from we were all going over there, and so we were like, well, let's get together and kind of it'd be great to meet up. And then we knew that a lot of our artists were going to be out there as well, so it kind of started as a meetup, and then loads of people were saying, well, can we DJ at it? So now we've got, I think there's 11 different artists from our collective labels are going to be DJ. I'm going to be doing some, but we've got guys like Universal Solution, who's had string of releases on Juna Deep, and we've got Roald Velden, Vince, some of the best guys, right? Druce is coming from Miami to play there. Chris Domingo, who again lives in Florida, and I'm gonna have to mention all the guys now because I
go ahead. Go ahead.
So we've got Cosmax, we've got Siri, we've got Ron with Leeds, we've got Twemke from Saluna. We've got Joshua Ollerton, and I know I'm forgetting someone, but bear with me a second.
No,
just let me
you got a bunch of people, man. That's good. This is great.
Too many people. My short-term memory is shot. So hang on. This is great podcast material.
That's all right, man. I want to know because this is good for melodic progressive. An event where these melodic progressive labels are coming together to make this happen. To even like you said, just to greet up. But that's kind of how melodic progressive is. It's like it's kind of everybody who likes melodic progressive is kind of like we can just greet up and chill, but. It's just, when they get together, it's like, well, if we're all going to be chilling together and we all like this kind of music, somebody should play it. So
there was one person that I forgot, I think, which is Kajis. And he's probably, I've just murdered the pronunciation of that as well. But and he's going to kill me because we chat all the time. And also, actually, last year at ADE, he won a competition there. He submitted a track, and I think I can't remember who the judges were now, but it was like Marcus Schultz or someone, picked his track out of everyone, and he won like a big prize there. So Universal Solution, Roald Velden, Vince Fords, Chris Domingo, Ron with Leeds, Kajis, Cosmax, Skua, Druce, Joshua Ollerton, Siri, and Twemke. We're going from 4 p.m. on the 18th of October through till 3 a.m.
All right. So who's on video duty? Who's going to be videotaping this and posting this on the social medias? I need to know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of grown into from just a get together to now we've got
Yeah.
there's a bar, and it's a really cool bar actually called Hill Street Blues in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
That we're kind of taking over, and it's a free event, so we're not kind of trying to make any money out of this. It really kind of came from just trying to bring everybody together. So if we can stream it, I need to work out a way of doing that, but if we can, then we'll at least try and stream parts of it.
All right. Well, at least post the sets on SoundCloud and stuff. You gotta...
Oh yeah,
right.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll do that. But aside from that, I mean, there's always new stuff going out. We've got like a merch line that we've just brought out on
Nice.
Emergent, and I think pretty soon we're going to be putting on Spotify some kind of like best of type hour-long mixes of some of the best of Emergent Shores and Emergent Cities, Textures, and all of the and Skies and the other labels there. So we're going to be doing that fairly soon as well.
All right, man, that sounds great. So Phil, thank you first and foremost so much. I mean, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for chatting with me, man. You have given me, and I'm sure you've given not just me, but more people, just valuable insight into being a musician and operating a label. Those do go hand in hand in some forms, but it's also nice because you have to do both sides of it. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this, brother. It means the world to me. I want you to have a wonderful rest of your day, man. And we're definitely going to have to come back again for part 2. I'm about to do this with a few people, but we're going to have to come back again for part 2, man. And I'm want to hear more about this. It's Progressive Unity. That's what it is. And
do you know what? I didn't even say the name of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Progressive Unity.
Progressive Unity. I see it. I pulled it up on Facebook, so everybody who is watching, they're going to be able to see exactly what you were talking about, and you can look more into this on the 18th of October. And it's in Amsterdam, but you can find the address on the Facebook site. They have it all there. So this is a pretty cool thing for melodic progressive house. I am happy to be sharing this, be a part of it. I'm happy to be helping push this around. So definitely, if you're in the area, stop by, support my man Skua here and the rest of the melodic progressive house family. It would mean the world.
You've just done so much of a better job of promoting that than I am. But
I don't know about that, brother, but thank you so much, Phil. Thank you.
No, thanks a lot, and thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, brother. You have a wonderful day, okay?
Cheers, man.
All right, peace.
See ya.
All right, everybody. That was episode 6 with Phil Byron from Emergent Shores. It was a great chat. Talked about just everything under the sun, and I really enjoyed getting to know him deeper as not only just a person who operates a label, but as an artist, and kind of the things that you run into as human beings. The problems that happen that come our way. So it was real great, and yes, please be sure check him out. Just look down below, Skua, Skua, on all social media platforms, and support, the movement of melodic progressive. The labels, they definitely are just a big part of what we do, and I can't express my gratitude enough for what they've done. So we'll catch you on the next episode, and I hope you all have a lovely day, and thanks for hanging with the Cool Breeze.